Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by my channel. Certainly appreciate you all taking time out of your day to pay me a visit. I'm going to be sharing some footage of a trip to Pigeon Lake. This is a lake that's part of the Kawartha Chain of Lakes. That's about an hour northeast of Toronto. My family's been going up here since before I was even born. We go up there for 1 week a year. This trip happened in 2017, September 9th through 16th to be exact. This was the very first year that I had my GoPro, so the quality is pretty rough. So I'm gonna just voice over the clips here, so you don't have to hear the rod knocking into the GoPro and the wind noise and all the other just background noise that is just unnecessary. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. It was a pretty fun trip. So this first spot here is Goose Island. It's a really small island right next to a big island. It's got some really nice lily pads in here and a lot of rock reefs around it. Normally find some really big fish in these lily pads, and we can see right here that this had a really nice blow up on a live target sunfish that I'm fishing. This was the very first day of the trip, so having a real nice fish like this on day one is always exciting. I just absolutely inhaled that sunfish. I really like those sunfish on really clear water lakes like Pigeon Lake. Really nice, probably 3 pound largemouth if I remember right. So this next spot here is Sandy Point. As the name entails, it's a point that has a lot of sand on it. It also has a very nice, well-defined weed edge every year that I go there. And about 10 to 12 feet, there's nice, tall, thick weeds, and then it just drops off to a hard sand bottom. I'll go here a few times during the week. You'll actually see the spot again later on in the video. But whenever I want to catch a lot of smallmouth, not quality smallmouth, but fish about this size, about a pound, pound and a half, they all hang out right on that weed edge, and we'll just slam drop shots, shaky heads, tubes. Even occasionally we'll throw a deep crankbait here, but there's always a few fish in here that are willing to eat every time I go here. Um, Always a fun spot. But the other cool thing about this point is it's got a really old boathouse. I'd really love to know the history behind that boathouse, but it's dilapidated. It's fallen into the water. Every year I go there, it just kind of further collapses in there. But it's really cool looking. I wish I had a photo of it or just a short clip to show you guys of it. But if you're ever out on Pigeon Lake, definitely swing by Sandy Point. Take a look at that old boathouse. It's really neat. So this next spot is the mouth of the bay, right in front of Elam Lodge. If anyone is looking for a really nice lodging area for like a family, this is the what I would recommend. Elam Lodge. Back when I was a kid, this is where we stayed at. They always had a lot of fun activities for kids, and my parents were always occupied either doing fishing stuff or the Elam Lodge also has other activities for adults and whatnot. It's a really cool area. We stay at Camp Astabula on this trip, but we normally stay at Camp Fisherman otherwise. Now that we're all just adults focused on fishing, but you can see I'm fishing for muskie here, and this is a really good spot for muskie. Actually, around this whole Camp Mapleleaf Island um, is where my group normally spends most of its time. The other boat in the group just will troll around that whole island. You can see hook into a nice fish right here. Uh, Obviously, I'm fishing for muskies here, and I'm really hoping that I hooked into a small muskie. Of course, I don't have my net ready to go. I never really quite learned my lesson. I love this nut. I got that at Canadian Tire. but when it's got its handle fully extended, it's just um, too big. But it wasn't a muskie. It was an okay bass. So I just kind of boat flipped him in there. Unfortunately, it wasn't very well hooked. So as soon as I boat flipped him, he came off and just started flopping around. I was debating whether I wanted to grab him and risk getting spined, but ended up just taking the net. I was going to flip him out because it wasn't as nice of a smallmouth as I thought it was, but still a decent, probably 2.5 pound smallmouth. Catching it on a bucktail on musky gears, always kind of a surprise. So if you're looking for a spot that has a nice transition from largemouth to smallmouth, this shoreline's really good. Um, Going from Gannon's Narrow Marina down to the bridge, and actually just a little bit past the bridge into Buckhorn. Uh, Over by Gannon's Narrow Marina, normally we'll find a decent number of largemouth. As we can tell right here, fishing the Zaraspook in this little backwater bay. This little bay is really neat because there's a like a little tugboat. Can't see it here, but it's off to the right. It's a really neat looking boat. You can kind of see it right there. Um, but yeah, it's got a decent large mouth right here, as you can tell from this guy. It's probably a nice maybe pound and a half, 2 pound fish. This little backwater bay though is really nice for top water. I normally hit this early in the morning or in the evening. I don't really have a whole lot of success here during the middle of the day. This guy was really well hooked though. Once you kind of get past that bay, the shoreline transitions into more of a like a rocky type substrate, and the weeds start getting a little bit uh, sparser, or I should say, there's more of a defined inline weed edge, um, and uh, it will start getting into a lot of smallmouth. Um, this trip, this spot was just on fire. I would hit it nearly every single day, fishing a tube, and man, I'll never learn my lesson here with nuts. I always have one bass net and one musky net. I don't like putting bass into the musky net, and I don't obviously can't land a muskie in a bass net, but um, able to get this smallmouth in the net. This guy was caught on a tube. I don't remember exactly what color it was, but I went through quite a few packets of tubes this trip, if I remember. Um, Typically, I fished some kind of a smoke color, and we can see in the background there that's the other boat in my group. They're trolling for muskies. This is another good muskie spot, but I primarily fish it here for smallmouth. So just moving a little bit further down the shoreline here, and again, all I'm doing is fishing this inside weed edge. There's scattered rocks and boulders with a few patches of weeds. Off to the left, there's a really well-defined thick weed bed, but this inside weed edge will just have a bunch of bass cruising around on it. And normally, most of the time, it's smallmouth, but this trip there was actually a decent amount of larger smallmouth here. You have to see that's like a smoke-colored tube that we have. Again, just going even further down the shoreline here. This little cool boathouse. You can tell that it's a little dilapidated. What you can't tell without looking closely, though, right in front, between that boathouse and that other dock there's actually old dock pilings. It's just a massive pile of rocks, and you'll always catch at least one or two fish off that massive rock pile. They're not always the biggest, but you can almost always guarantee some kind of fish there. We can tell we got a largemouth mixed in with the smallmouth here. So this next spot is a shoal. I found this spot a few years ago. It's really, I don't think it's all that hidden. One of the locals, or at least who I assume is a local, marks this spot off with a milk jug or a few of them. It can actually be a little dangerous. The first time I ever went there was a little nerve wracking. Um, at the shallowest point, it's like maybe half a foot deep and just massive rocks and boulders. So definitely be careful if you go there. But this spot can be very hit or miss. But when the fish are there, the fish are there, and you actually catch some really nice ones. This fish obviously isn't one of them, but I've actually caught some 5 pound smallmouth off this spot before. Really fun spot, and a spot that you can hit really fast. The fish are either going to be there and you'll know it, or they won't be. So we're swinging back over to Sandy Point here. Again, this spot is really just for quantity of fish, not really quality. And I'm only showing you all this clip because you're going to get a glimpse here of that really interesting boathouse that I was talking about towards the end of the clip. Um, I cut out a lot of the dink fish that I caught on this trip. This was really the year of dinks for me. Um, Over the whole week, I probably caught the most number of smallmouth bass in my life. Um, a lot of fun, um, but yeah, just a lot of small fish. And we're just about to get a very quick glimpse at the boathouse here. There it is. So for anyone that's been watching my videos a while now, you'll notice the boat I have in here is very different than the bass tractor that I have. This was an old Procraft bass boat that I had. It was cursed. This thing was a nightmare. It was nothing but problems, but it did allow me to go up to the northern end of the lake, which is a very fun area to fish. So you'll notice that boat just went flying by me. Had a lot of choice words for that individual when he did that. But as some professionals have said in the past, and proof here in this video, those waves stir up bait fish and can trigger fish to bite. So I'm fishing that live target sunfish again. Just as those waves are dissipating, we got a fish that comes out and wants to play. Now you could certainly argue whether or not that boat triggered a fish to eat like this. I might very well have caught him if that boat didn't go by. We'll never know. But it's always a little bit of a silver lining when that happens. Um, if it produces a nice 3 pound largemouth like this, I don't mind boats going flying by me. So this is an approximate guess of where I'm fishing here. I really honestly don't remember exactly, but what I am fishing here is an offshore hump, um, right next to this little island. If I remember right, it went from like 20 feet up to like an 8 foot weed flat. Very well defined weed edge. Really awesome spot. And catch one fish here. Not a huge fish. Again, this trip saw a lot of smaller fish. Um, Pointing out right there that he just spit up a shad of some kind. Throwing the tube here. At this point in the trip, I've run out of the smoke color and had to switch over to this orange color. Just go right back to fishing that wheel edge. Again, just that deep drop off. Knowing exactly where that's at because I use my side imaging on my Garmin unit to just kind of map it out in my head. It's nice and calm, so I'm not floating around too much. So I'm not paying attention, explaining to my dad what I'm trying to do here. Get a fish, miss him, start hitting myself in the head, and as I'm lamenting, he comes back and hits it again. So it's always fun catching bass back to back like this, even if they are small. It's always fun. Again, this trip was just the year of the dinks, catching a lot of small, yeah, about 1 pounder, shy of just 1 pound, all on the tube. I think I eventually ran out of tubes this trip and I had to switch over to spider grubs. Don't remember exactly though, but a lot of fun. So there's a few small islands to the northeast of Boyd Island or Big Island, whatever you call it. This island in particular is really cool because again, it's got really deep drop offs to it, but on this back side of it, it's got a lot of laydowns. It's got some really nice big rocks and boulders and a few weeds to it. So I'm fishing a spider grub here. Uh, Again, I don't remember exactly whether I ran out of tubes, but I will normally fish spider grubs when I'm looking for bigger fish, and we'll throw tubes if I'm just looking for fish. Um, but this spider grub, I'm fishing the deep weed edge here. You can see it when I cast it out. I kind of free spooled it down to the bottom, and I'm just dragging it nice and slow back, hitting a few rocks here and there along the way. Typically, I'm using like a half-ounce football head jig when I'm fishing spider grubs. I typically drag them every now and again. I'll throw in some hops, but dragging is normally just the way that I'll fish a spider grub. Slow and tedious, really not my style of fishing, but it can certainly pay off.
Yeah,
Being
that's a
able
little
to
bit
just
fishy.
feel the bite and being able to
No,
swing
not really.
and just feel that rod load up,
Oh,
man,
it's a
it's
school.
hard to
There's
beat.
a few of them right
This
behind
fish
it.
hit a lot harder than I expected him for a fish of that size. When I felt that bite, I thought I
That
had
guy
like a four
nailed it.
pounder on. Certainly not the case,
Quick release.
and just quick released him. So this last clip here, this is another approximation. I really don't remember exactly where the spot is. I really wish I did. I do remember it very distinctively, though. This is a uh, deep shoreline, and then there was a point that came out. You know, it was about 20 feet deep at the deepest part of the shoreline, and then there's a point that came out to about like 7 feet, and then again it just dropped right off. I got my dad in the boat. He's fishing for muskie. I'm throwing just a drop shot like I normally do, and my dad hooks up into something. He's trying to convince me it's a muskie. I'm not quite convinced it's a muskie, knowing that this is really kind of a prime smallmouth spot. So of course I grab my bass nut because I think I know better than him. And nope, that's a smallmouth. Definitely not a muskie. Yep, nope. Get him next to the boat, see that it's a muskie, and then I swallow my pride here and get the muskie net. He was throwing his bread and butter, which is a double Colorado white spinnerbait, using a Uncle Josh bass strip pork trailer. That is what he throws 99% of the time, and I tell you, it is absolutely money on Pigeon Lake. Again, he's normally off in his own boat trolling these spinner baits, but he wanted to check out the north side of the island with me. He's never really been up there fishing, and we had a day to be able to do this. So he's got himself an old Abu Garcia reel. I think it's just an absolute beast, and it's a pretty decent muskie. Unfortunately, this was a no muskie trip for me. This was I think the third year in a row that I had a no muskie trip. Which you haven't, if you haven't checked out my 2018 video yet, that was when I broke my muskie streak. Almost lost my hat. One thing about those spinner baits, when they get hooked, they really get hooked well. It's pretty tough for them to come off of that. Get it out of the boat, get a quick measurement, get a quick photo of it. 37 inches, not a bad fish. Well, that's going to do it. This is all the footage that I had for this 2017 trip. It was certainly a lot of fun. Again, this was a lot of dinks caught this year. I had a lot of footage that I did not include just because, you can only see so many 10-inch, 12-inch smallmouth getting caught. Their aerial acrobatics are awesome to watch, but it gets a little old, so hopefully this was a fair balance of decent sized fish and small fish. Um, but I certainly enjoyed going over this old footage. It made me miss having a full size bass boat, although it did bring back some bad memories of just how miserable this boat was. I blew the engine on this boat, I think twice, maybe three times. I've repressed those memories quite a bit. It was a money pit of a boat. I was very happy to get rid of it. This was the last trip for that boat. I'm quite happy with the bass tracker that I have currently. Especially happy with that 1 year old Evinrude engine that I have, and the warranty and the peace of mind that comes with it. I digress, though. Thank you, everyone, for spending time with me. Certainly appreciate the view, and more importantly, that you guys chose to take time out of your day to spend it with me, and the rambling that I find myself doing on these voiceover videos. I've got a trip to Canada planned for September. I was also hoping to get up there in June, but with the current state of COVID, I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope the border's going to be open by then. So I'll just have to be content with the northern Illinois and Wisconsin fishing that I've got to hold me over until then. So thank you all, and we will see you on the next video.